our second speaker is a very distinguished speaker. I would like to welcome Her Excellency with great honor, the wife of the Prime Minister of Malaysia, Her Excellency Datan Sri Rozma Mansour. She will talk about teacher competency, nurturing the future generation, and she will present her statement in the next 20 minutes. Please, the floor is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Mr. Chairman, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and a very pleasant morning. Praise be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for with his blessings, I'm able to be here with all of you this morning. I feel very honored to be invited to deliver a keynote address at the first international conference on total quality management in K-12 education. I would like to extend my appreciation and thanks to the organizer, the Ministry of Education, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, for inviting me to be a part of this stimulating and enlightening discourse. Malaysia values the long-standing relationship between our two countries, and as a demonstration of Malaysia's support and warm friendship, I have brought along a big delegation to this conference comprising vice chancellors of universities, senior officials in education, university professors, as well as wives of cabinet ministers and deputy ministers. We are indeed greatly appreciative and touched by your kind reception and hospitality. I would also like to congratulate His Majesty King Abdullah bin Abdulaziz, the custodian of the two holy mosques, as his patronage at this conference signifies His Majesty's continued commitment towards developing quality human capital development in this country. May Allah protect and bless His Majesty King Abdullah and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. My husband and I and the people of Malaysia will continuously pray for His Majesty's speedy recovery and well-being, inshallah. Both of us also wish for the well-being of His Royal Highness Prince Sultan bin Abdul Aziz Al Saud, Crown Prince of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The organizers' initiative in bringing together distinguished and renowned speakers to seek ideas that could reshape the kingdom's educational policies and programs is indeed most laudable, and I'm happy to share with you my thoughts and ideas on the competency of teachers in nurturing the future generation. I'm particularly keen on sharing with you Malaysia's experience, as I believe Malaysia and Saudi Arabia, being Islamic countries, relate well to each other through strong people-to-people relationship and the warm friendship enjoyed by both leaders. Ladies and gentlemen, investing in education is acknowledged as extremely significant as it helps to build a nation's human resources which are critical for the development of a nation. With a strong body of human capital, any nation can attain remarkable success even when lacking natural resources. Consider countries like Singapore, Luxembourg, and Taiwan, which do not have much natural resources, but have emerged as successful and highly developed economies. If such is the case for countries lacking natural resources, imagine what strong human capital can do to naturally wealthy nations. Having the right people to effectively and efficiently manage those resources would certainly give the development of such countries a major boost. Investing in human capital is critically important, and research has proven that investing in children at an early stage is more critical than investing in later stages of a person's life. The saying, early learning begets later learning, and early success breeds later success, cannot be further from the truth. Education is indeed the pathway to nation building, as it not only contributes to the inculcation of values, disciplines, ethics, and attitudes, but will ultimately shape the nation's economic growth and landscape, as well as social cohesion. Countries that neglect education will eventually find themselves not only losing out, but will struggle to move their economies forward and create progress in their societies. Investing in education is also the first step in building a prosperous, peaceful, and harmonious world, because this investment creates global and societal benefits. It will also produce the invaluable resources required for a nation's economic, technological, and social development, which will lead to tangible positives impacting entire communities. Our future depends on the fostering of a capable and efficient generation that can take on the complexities of tomorrow's challenges, see beyond boundaries and limitations, think beyond self-interest, and are committed to a global partnership for peace, stability, and the good of mankind. They should be able to provide solutions that are grounded in ethics and morality for the good of their communities, their nations, and the world at large. We are well aware that knowledge advancement, as well as scientific and technological innovation, will thrive and form an integral part of our future. We are already witnessing the challenges that have never been faced before, that have been created by the rapid advances in information and communications technology. Separation by great physical distances and time is spectacularly breached by the World Wide Web. Static information residing in hard text now flows freely and speedily through cyber conduits. The world has become borderless. Knowledge explosion, the speed of dissemination and impact of global knowledge will be both a benefit and a great challenge for our children. It is our responsibility to ensure that our children are well equipped to face their future. Tomorrow's generation will need to be aware of the global nature of societal issues, to understand the nature of global economic integration, to appreciate the interconnectedness and interdependence of peoples, to respect and protect cultural diversity, and to understand mankind's impact on the environment. The question is, have we nurtured our children with the necessary know-how to enable them to become responsible leaders and good citizens who would in turn be able to shape the future of the world? Are we teaching them to strive equally for economic and technological advancement, as well as to foster and cultivate harmonious societies which care for their people? This teaching approach will require a deeper understanding of the global problems, appreciating the ethical ways in which technology can be developed, adopted, and deployed, while remaining committed to good governance and global best practices. Education is indeed the most important tool to achieve the ideals of a better world. It will give our children the capacity, the capability, and the value system to be good citizens, leaders, as well as the social mobility to uplift themselves. For this purpose, education must not only transmit knowledge developed in the past, but also anticipate the future knowledge, skills, and behaviors that our children will need when they assume adult roles. As Erasmus asserts, a man is not born a man, but becomes one through the education he receives. Ladies and gentlemen, in preparing the future society characterized by rapid technological development and a complex environment, emphasis must be given to science and technology without neglecting arts and humanities. The empowerment can be greatly enhanced by capitalizing on ICT so that they become part of the global knowledge sharing chain that shapes opinion and drives global trends. In meeting these complex challenges, it is pertinent that the education system must be designed to prepare and help students to learn deeply, think critically, and creatively on how to make important and wise decisions in relation to the stipulated objectives. In the words of John Dewey, all which the school can and need do for pupils, so far as their minds are concerned, is to develop their ability to think. Furthermore, we need to empower our children with the capacity to ride the waves of change. This requires an agile and adaptable mind with a disposition for lifelong learning. As global citizens, they must have a global vision, a vision of a sustainable and equitable world where there is a healthy respect for diversity. For that, our task is not only to prepare students to fit into the future, but more importantly, to shape it and to influence it. Ladies and gentlemen, in nurturing our children, teachers are the single most important resource as they are the architects of our future generation. In these changing times, one of the biggest challenges faced by modern educators and teachers is whether they have the appropriate set of competencies to prepare and nurture our children. Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, author of The Little Prince, says, "Our task is not to foresee the future, but to enable it." Indeed, never before has the teaching profession been more challenged than in this globalized era. Gone are the days when students were a captive audience with little to distract their attention from the teacher and their books. Today, with the ICT revolution, teaching and learning can no longer be confined by the four walls of a classroom. Teachers today should not be the sage on the stage or the repository of all knowledge. They have to be the facilitators by the side, from the primary role as a dispenser of information to an orchestrator of learning and helping students turn information into knowledge and then knowledge into wisdom. The 21st century teacher is required to instill in the learner a practice of knowledge generation and a culture of inquiry. Teachers must keep abreast of the latest technology in teaching and communication. They should enjoy personal exploration of thoughts and feelings, communicating them to their charges using a variety of media and technology, given that the next generation of students are going to be extremely technologically attuned. The 21st century competencies require teachers to move beyond simple content area on knowledge and skills to meet the complex contemporary and future demands. These competencies include, amongst others, critical thinking and problem solving, creativity and innovation, agility and adaptability, resourcefulness and entrepreneurialism, curiosity and imagination to sustain the capacity for lifelong learning. Globalization and the need for global understanding require our teachers to enhance their repertoire of competencies. They will need pedagogical skills to teach students to appreciate multiple points of view and to be wary of stereotyping. Most importantly, they must have commitment to assist students to become responsible citizens both of the world and of their own communities. These aspects are quite similar to the Islamic tradition that describes a competent teacher as one with good character, sound knowledge and pedagogical skills and compassion. This is circumscribed by the belief that education is ta'dib, the instilling and inculcation of adab, manners in man, while teaching is an ibadah or worship. The concern towards teacher competency thus is to develop those who can think powerfully, act effectively, and feel adequately. Teachers should be able to teach for understanding and not merely for memorization and regurgitation. Hence, a holistic development of the teacher from the intellectual, physical, emotional, religious, and social perspectives would be a prerequisite. Teachers must have the knowledge and expertise to shape productive learning experiences, as well as be able to identify the thinking and learning styles of students. As there are no one-size-fits-all approaches in teaching, a competent teacher needs to understand and accommodate different styles of student learning. Some students absorb faster than others, and gifted students can complete an entire syllabus in half the time that others normally take. The teacher must be very alert to the different absorption rate of the students and must have the ability to create interactive, engaging, and effective lessons. This includes a variety of teaching and learning strategies, including the use of ICT tools. At the end of the day, learning must always remain fun for the students, and the teacher must encourage curiosity and inquisitiveness in students. Ladies and gentlemen, I've got this letter saying that I've only got 5 minutes, but I think I've got a little bit more to say. So I hope you will bear with me. Just as learners need to be self-reflective, competent teachers should be good models as reflective practitioners. I'm so sorry because I came all the way. It took 8 hours for me to fly here, so I might as well say it all. They are able to serve as mentors and to reach out to students emphatically, cultivate good social interactions, and be a point of reference for students, even for their non-academic issues. More often than not, it is this human understanding that touches the heart of the students rather than the content knowledge the teacher has. Indeed, the best teachers are those who are ever willing to work beyond the call of duty, driven by their passion for their noble profession. At this juncture, please allow me to share with you Malaysia's approach to education and how it has contributed to our development. Malaysia believes that with skilled people, she will be able to use their resources more productively, compete better internationally, and create knowledge for improving society. In the early stage of its development, Malaysia was dependent on resources such as rubber and tin. With a growing population, Malaysia needed a higher economic growth, and thus it embarked on an industrialization strategy which relied on skilled people. Education was made widely available, and unskilled workers, particularly from the rural areas, were given training. The availability of skilled workers is a key factor that attracted large investments which created jobs and growth, including from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. We have also become more globalized, where Malaysia is now amongst the world's largest exporters of electronic components, as well as the biggest exporter of palm oil. Our next stage of growth is to create a knowledge-based society which will rely heavily on human capital and knowledge creation. As the world becomes more integrated, our economic well-being will depend on how well our people deal with technology and ICT in this digital era. Reflecting this change, our education system has also been adjusted to suit the times, with greater focus now being placed on science and technology subjects. Our experience shows that knowledge creation and skills enhancement are the main ingredients for nurturing the people. For this, education is extremely important. Recognizing this, Malaysia has given its highest priority by allocating large resources to this sector. About 25% of Malaysia's annual budget is allocated for education, and teachers constitute one of the largest groups in the Malaysian public sector, with a strength of 400,000, or about 35%. We believe that the increase of liberalization and access to education, particularly in the rural areas, is vital to create a catalyst for growth. For this, the Malaysian government has built many schools, including residential and preschools, expanded ICT facilities, and sent good teachers. The best return to investment is definitely education. The contribution of education to Malaysia is not only on economic growth, but also in building a fair and cohesive society. Education was the route through which segments of society which were left behind were given the opportunity to participate fully and effectively and to enjoy the fruits of development. A major policy that the Malaysian government implemented was the democratization of education. Thousands of primary and secondary schools were built to cater for the educational needs of every community. For tertiary education, Malaysia has 20 public universities and 49 private universities and university colleges, with 6 foreign branches and over 500 polytechnics and community colleges. This policy opens the door for education to all, regardless of ethnicity, income level, or location. To ensure that every child receives the education they need, we have made primary education compulsory with amendment of the Education Act of 1996. Likewise, Malaysia has expanded access to education by providing students with financial support and sending them overseas to broaden their diversity of learning experiences. Acknowledging that every child is precious, the Bemaalta program, which alludes to children as the jewels of the nation, was initiated in 2006. Early childhood education, or ECEC, a subject very close to my heart and which I strongly champion, was the first program that was introduced. ECEC gives children below the age of 4 years from underprivileged families an early start in life. With full support by the Malaysian government, ECEC, or the Bemaalta Niyagara program, is now implemented in 600 centers nationally, benefiting 24,000 children. The Bemaalta program has since been expanded to the Bemaalta Pinta, Bemaalta Seni, and Bemaalta Insan programs that identify and nurture gifted and talented children in the academic, cultural, and spiritual aspects. We have built a school for gifted children between the ages of 15 to 17 years, and the first intake will be on 17th January of 2011. And I believe these are the essential foundation for the development of quality and productive human capital, as well as an opportunity to nurture the enormous and invaluable potential inherent in these children. Education is also an important tool for social mobility and for escaping from poverty. By providing access to education and expanding training opportunities, those from deprived background will have a chance to improve themselves and simultaneously uplift the standard of living of their families. Improvement in the quality of basic education to narrow rural-urban differences is essential to ensure improved access of rural children to higher education, which leads to higher paid jobs and social mobility. Certainly, education is instrumental in increasing the size of the middle class and reducing the poverty rate in Malaysia from 49.3% in 1970 to 3.8% in 2009. The role of education in increasing income and improving the quality of life, which results in social stability, cannot be overstated. In fact, the government of Malaysia is trying to increase the per capita income to 15,000 USD by 2020. Towards achieving this goal, education will play a fundamental role and is considered a top priority by the government for the investment. Towards this end, the Ministry of Education has also put in place policies, produced blueprint for enhancing education, as well as established teachers' professionalism, standards to beef up the education system and equip educators and teachers to function effectively and competently in the classroom. Meanwhile, the standards are used to set the tone for quality throughout the education system, from early childhood right up to tertiary education. Various financial and career advancement opportunities and incentives have been put in place to attract and retain the best talent in the teaching profession. With this, teaching remains a noble profession and a profession of choice. Ladies and gentlemen, before I conclude, allow me to highlight the similarities of the education policies and systems of our two countries. It is interesting to note that both our 10-year plan focused on effort to increase quality of teachers and teacher education, as well as eradication of illiteracy. This signifies that we share the same belief and aspiration in providing quality education. But of course, it must be borne in mind that while the similarities are there, the differences also exist, and every country must establish the right ingredients to formulate improvements to their education according to what is right for their own unique circumstances. For Malaysia, we will not take things for granted, definitely. We continue to seek ways to improve ourselves, particularly in providing quality teachers to nurture the future generation of global Malaysians. I would like to reiterate that education lies at the heart of the advancement of a nation. The country's progress is highly dependent on the development of human capital in line with the challenges and needs of the 21st century. To shape a better tomorrow, we must begin today. And we must begin by ensuring our children are well equipped to face any challenge that may come their way. Teachers play a pivotal role in that respect, and we must enhance their competencies so that they are the best at what they do. We must ensure that they have every opportunity to help our children to face the future. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. I'm sorry that I've taken a little bit more than my time allocated to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for the great statement. Malaysia has made great achievements in the last 30 years, and education was and still one of the cornerstones in that transformation. Saudi Arabia and Malaysia has deep relationships, and we are pleased with the Malaysian story, and we always find insights and lessons and experiences that we can learn in the country.